Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast. It is the episode before Christmas. 'Twas the episode before Christmas, and all through the podcast, nothing rhymes with podcast. I'm in trouble here.
Not a creature was stirring, not even a wadcast.
Ew.
I don't know what that is. I'm grasping.
I know you probably want to cut and start over, but we're not going to. Welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast. I'm Illeagle 86. I am joined as always by Nerdbomber and Techtic, who you already heard try to make up rhymes. We're not going to do that the whole time, but it is the episode before Christmas. So if you're a Christmas celebrator, happy holidays to you. This episode will be released on Christmas Eve, also known as Festivus if you're a Seinfeld fan. So yeah, happy holidays. And if you're not a Christmas celebrator, happy holidays, whatever holiday you may be celebrating, happy holidays. It might have been Hanukkah, which I believe happened already. Could be Kwanzaa, could be any number of other things. So shout out to all of you. We are not going to be sticking Christmassy today. We're going to be doing our usual slated news. There's been a lot of big pieces of news released in the past week in advance of the Christmas season. We, of course, need to talk about Cyberpunk because we actually could have last week, but we had too much going on. So that got moved into this week, and there's been some new developments on that in the past few days that we'll get to. And we also have to talk about this Nintendo Direct that gave us a first look at Super Nintendo World. And in fact, I think we should lead with that because how about that? There's a lot to unpack. This was a 15-minute video, and it was basically a guided tour, a first look at Universal Studios Japan's new area, Super Nintendo World, which we talked about on the podcast before. We've known about it for quite a while now, and actually we just recently mentioned they moved up the official opening date, I think, to February. Mm-hmm. So they're showing us what the park looks like, and taking us on this tour is a man whose name I am not going to try to pronounce because I will get it wrong. But
Mr. Mario's dad.
Yeah, Mr. Mario's dad. He's taking us on a guided tour through this park, and I'm trying to think about where we should start here. I mean, wow. The video starts out in a warp tube, which of course is entirely green and, has these flashing lights in it. And from there you're in Peach's castle and you go outside and you're surrounded by what looks like a level of Super Mario. I mean, the detail, of course, is pretty much spot on everywhere. I don't know what stuck out most to you guys. We can, of course, we'll ping pong back and forth here. But the thing that stuck out the most to me were the coins. It was one of those things that I wasn't thinking about how important those would be to making you feel like you're in a Super Mario
rotating.
Level. And exactly. All of them rotating and looking very convincingly too, like they were floating.
It was hard to see the little shaft.
When they initially they step outside and they give you a wide shot of everything. I mean, it legitimately, not just the coins either, the Goombas, a lot of it looked like you were playing a video game. It was for me, it was pretty stark.
So that's and I'm glad you said that. That, for me, was the biggest takeaway, was that it looked like you were playing a video game. Specifically, the textures were spot on to the N64. And there were times when I was like, is he standing in front of a green screen or something? Because this doesn't look real. So the art folks who really did that texturing and detail, spot on freaking job, guys. You did fantastic.
I mean, even the animatronics, if you looked at all of the different basically character figures, and even just beyond like the coins and stuff that were rotating, things as subtle as, and I'm showing my lack of Nintendo knowledge here a little bit, but the little red guys with the hood and the like mask face thing, what are those called? Are those Goombas?
No. Goombas are the brown guys.
Yeah, Shy Guys?
Yeah, they're Shy Guys.
Like if you looked at the little hood tip of the Shy Guy, like it was very subtly flexing like it does in the game. And like the little subtle details like that and the animatronics were incredible. Like everything that they showed and everywhere I looked, it looked like there was so much attention to detail put into it. And I mean, obviously you would hope so, but the way that the final product looked was just incredible.
Yeah. I mean, of course, the other thing we have to talk about, outside of just the visuals. So I guess, first of all, have either of you been to Harry Potter World?
No, I want to.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry to put you in what sounds like serious pain there for a second. So I have been lucky enough to go, and they have these things. So you can go to Ollivander's and you can buy a wand, and you can either buy a regular, just plain old, I mean, it's supposed to be wood, but it's really plastic. You can buy a plastic wand, or you can buy one that has an infrared tip. And the infrared tip is useful. I mean, those wands are more expensive, but they're useful because then you can walk around the park and there are certain things that you can, there's, I guess, infrared cameras that you can interact with and like wave your wand in a certain pattern to cast a spell and something will happen. And it might on paper not sound that cool, but believe me, it is astronomically cool. Like the things you'll swish your wand a certain way and some animatronic thing will happen. And in a lot of cases, you don't even know that the thing that moves is animatronic. It looks like a piece of scenery that's totally static. Yeah, I would guess that Super Mario World, that's where they have taken the concept they're using, that's where they've taken it from. So basically, their concept is a combo of that and Disney magic bands, right? Where you're wearing this band that has this big Mario face or Toad or a star. There's various patterns you can have, and then you interact with certain pieces of the scenery. I think in most cases they showed it was a block where you just basically punch the block and you get a coin or you get a key if you complete certain puzzles.
And what's great about that is it takes walking from ride A to ride B to being more than just that. It gives you an experience even when just traversing the park. And I love that more and more parks are doing that and more parks are adopting that kind of philosophy, especially since everyone has smartphones too.
Where that started was Disney, right? Where Disney's focus has always been, okay, yes, the rides are critically important to the experience, of course, but the line, not even just going from line to line, that's one thing, but the line itself is a ride. So like, the key, I think, to making a good theme park or a memorable theme park, I mean, Disney's my favorite theme park by a long shot because it's not about the ride. Like, it's about the rides, yes, but, like, there's so much more to it than that. And to see, Universal, doing that in Harry Potter World to a certain extent, doing it now in Super Mario World to a certain extent, it's really, really great to see. I do have concerns about what I'll call it traffic management.
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you said this.
That was my biggest thing.
Right. Like, there's going to be lines of children and adults, I mean, I'll be there, in front of this cube.
I was on reserve
how do you manage that?
Was saying that because I feel like they are keeping a lot of it very close to the chest. And they narrow lensed the view of everything, that they kept it looking small just to remove any spoilers for other things. And I'm hoping that in reality, it doesn't feel like a Nintendo museum and feels more like a amusement park. Because that's the vibe that I got from that this is just a Nintendo walk through a museum experience. And oh, by the way, here's a roller coaster.
Well, one of the things that I was wondering, because like as you both mentioned, the areas where they were showing these interactive blocks and stuff, they looked small. One of my first comments as we were watching the video, I looked over at Techtic and I was like, how are people going to fit there? But I am wondering if maybe what they showed us is more part of like the line section getting to an attraction than an attraction itself. Like, I wonder if that's like part of a queue for a ride and they've made all of these interactive things in the line for the queues.
Right. Because in the queue for a ride, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because everyone's going to go buy it and have a chance at it. And you also know that presumably because of what the ride is, it's not going to be it's not going to be traffic for the sake of that one thing, right? It's going to be traffic for the sake of the ride. And you're here, punch this block, you'll get a coin, or you'll get, I do think that's cool. And it is worth noting. Techtic, I think you mentioned it, or it might have been Nerdbomber. If you're worried about watching this video because you're going to like go there and you don't want to be spoiled, like there are certain things that like I think early on they had a big piranha plant like puzzle where you can get a key. These keys are useful for various reasons. And he said, I'm not going to show you how to do this one. So there's certain things that they want to show you how things work, but they're not giving away everything. So if you're concerned about that, I guess my message is don't be. But the other thing that I haven't mentioned yet, there's all these little puzzles and doodads you can interact with them using this band. And then there's also a mobile app. So if you get a coin by punching a block, that's tracked by the app.
I wonder what you do with these coins.
Also cool. I was going to ask you guys that. I mean, they didn't say anywhere and I missed it, did they?
The only thing that they mentioned about the bands in general was that you would be able to take it home and use it like an amiibo sort of thing. Yeah. So I wonder if somehow those coins will be translated into maybe eShop points or something like that, or some kind of in-game experience.
How cool would that be?
And if they aren't planning on doing that, you can totally steal this idea, because I would love for my Nintendo Land experience to turn into eShop points in the future, because that would be dope.
Right, because presumably they want people to be doing this stuff. They want people to have a reason to care about, because that is the one thing with Harry Potter world is like, if you're an adult, like I didn't care. Like I was over 20 years old when I went there, and like I didn't need to buy a $50 infrared wand to like wave. I mean, my little sister did, so I got to experience it by like stealing her wand and doing it. But like, I would never have done it myself because there wasn't really an incentive to do it. And I guess eShop points isn't a huge incentive, but it's at least a way for people to like make their money back. I don't know how these bans work exactly, whether there's a cost associated with them, but that would be a cool thing. I think that's a good idea. Maybe that's what their plan is. Maybe it isn't. You mentioned in-game experiences too. That would probably take a lot more work, but it's certainly possible. I mean, my, I guess, bigger takeaway from all of this is, yes, I want to go, but like, and I can't because it's in Japan.
Well, hang
pandemic
on.
notwithstanding.
That was my biggest takeaway, is that there's going to be ones in all different locations coming soon.
Yeah, because they did announce that there's going to be one in Hollywood and one in Orlando. I think those were the only 2 locations that he said.
Right.
But that they will be opening, but they didn't say when. And so, I would assume that this will be a huge success. They already know this is going to be a huge success. I mean, Nintendo is one of the biggest brands and franchises at the moment and in the last few decades. So I feel like Universal has to be secretly working on this in the theme parks that they already have set up in the United States, and that this will probably be a world that will open in the near future, hopefully, so we can go see it.
And guys, you forgot to mention, they also gave us a taste of some of the thematic food options that are going to be available.
I knew you were going to dial in on the food. I'll let you talk about this part.
So there was a Super Mario mushroom burger, which I love mushrooms on my burger, so sign me up. There was the coin box, looked like it had some whipped cream in it, and it almost looked like you took 4 French toasty cracker things and slammed them together in a cube, and it was all the right different stuff. It looked like there was a star-shaped rice ball. That I was for.
See, my problem with this, so I'm hoping they have other places to eat, but the specific restaurant that they showed was Toad's Cafe, and they said that aside from like the dessert, I think there was mushrooms in everything, and as someone who does not like mushrooms, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to be eating the popcorn all day because I can't eat anything here. I mean, I guess I could if I was really hungry, but
I love mushrooms. No, you get all the mushroom things, then I get double mushrooms. That's how it works.
Yeah, but like a mushroom burger, then I'm just eating the bun. Ooh.
I mean, I understand, like,
the dedication to the theme was impressive, but
of course they would put mushrooms on everything. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Nerdbomber, because you're not alone. I don't like mushrooms either, so like, doesn't do a whole lot for me. So Techtic, you mentioned the food. I want to actually go back to like something they talked about at the very beginning, which I think, again, is critically important and for me would be a big deal. People who listen to this show know that I'm kind of a music nerd. When they walked into Peach's Castle and the N64 Peach's Castle lobby theme was playing, I was like, that was the moment. And that was like 30 seconds into the video. That's when I was like, I will go here. As an adult person, I will go here. I will spend a lot of money and I will enjoy it.
I give it 2 weeks before they have to put signs up that say, do not run into the pictures. You will not go through them.
There should be a sign up on opening. I mean, yeah, that's the other thing. In that segment, they showed, I can't remember the name of the world, but the first world you go to in 64, it's like Bob-omb something. No, but the painting. It's like Bob-omb Blast or something. It's some very generic term, but it's the first level you do, and there's a painting of it that, in the game you would jump into it. I don't know how they would ever, make a jump into a bowl painting, but that's something for Universal R&D to work on. I will say that. They have a holographic situation where if you walk by it, it changes.
And they just do lights and like fog and then surround it with a picture frame.
Or like, some kind of like fabric or something. Get to work, Universal.
Well, they did have those AR goggles for the one cart ride, so maybe you'll actually drive into a picture frame in that ride.
It's very possible.
I will say my only hesitation, and this kind of deviates a little bit, but you mentioned the AR glasses, and anytime there's some kind of thing I got to put on my face, and this is maybe even more so heightened by 2020.
You're a germ gal.
But even in the past, and this is probably a personal story that a family member of mine would not want sharing, but in Disney World, we were in the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids 3D thing, and a family member got really nauseous and threw up in a bag, and thinking that the glasses receptacle as we were walking out was a trash can, put that
No.
bag in the trash can, and only afterward realized, and then they fished it out, obviously, but like for a split second, there's puke in that. So like,
Yeah.
I know they clean those, but still, like, I wonder how long those type of glasses will last, how they'll stop people from pilfering it, all that
Probably
kind of
just
stuff. It's interesting.
Plus, the cleaning is probably just some intern, just like waving a rag over him. It's like that's exactly the kind of thing I don't want to be thinking about. So thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. We should be probably making some critical judgment on this video and this reveal, but
I'm afraid because
nothing to say.
It looked like they kept the lens very, very narrow and kept a lot of the park close to the chest. And I don't want to make any rash judgments just yet. I think so far everything looks great as long as there's more than 10 square feet of space.
Right. So you don't want to make any rushes to judgment. So for now we won't. But especially if you're a Nintendo fan, go check out this video. Get hyped for the Orlando and Hollywood parks, which are TBD.
I do wish they teased more about other lands because it doesn't feel like a Nintendo park. It feels like a Super Mario park.
Right.
But
I was going to ask that too. Is there a Donkey Kong land? Is there a...
He alluded to it, but like, it's just they're keeping it very close to the chest. And I really, really want to believe there's more.
Well, because like if you buy tickets to a theme park, like before you go to Disney, I'm the type of person where I research every single ride and attraction, and I have like a plan. I know what I want to see, and I know what things I can skip. But if they don't reveal more, I'm assuming tickets are probably as expensive as regular Universal and Disney World tickets are. And I want to know a little bit more of what's in there.
Yeah, well, let's speculate for a second. I mean, Super Mario World obviously already exists. Donkey Kong World was alluded to, I have to assume already exists. But assuming you're going for a Disney model, so they have Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios. So that's 4.
Imagine it's the same thing. In Mario World, you punch boxes. In Donkey Kong World, you punch barrels. In Pokemon World, you punch Pokeballs. And it's just Control-C, Control-V.
Okay, so there's Pokemon World, Donkey Kong World, Mario World. What is the 4th world? Presuming we follow the 4 world
You got to
model.
punch vases. Remember I said this?
Zelda,
yeah.
for sure.
Punch vases.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know why I couldn't come up with any of those. I was like, I've seen like Star Fox. I was like, honestly, a Star Fox world would be dope as hell, but I know that's not going to happen, so it's fine. Also, a Metroid world would be dope as hell. Just like a sci-fi, just like put all the space ones into one world. Just call it Space World. You heard me, Universal. Make it happen. For me, come on.
The whole theme park is punching things. That's it. No rides, just punching stuff.
If you have anger issues, this may be the place for you. So yeah, we want to hear from you about this. We've already talked to you a bit about this on Twitter, but we want to hear more on your thoughts on the food, the music, the ambiance, just everything that was revealed.
I have one request if they do have a Zelda world. When you enter it, they should have an old guy saying, "The journey is rough, take this," or whatever the quote is. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
when
it's dangerous to go alone.
It's dangerous to go alone, yes.
Donkey Kong World, every restaurant's going to be like, here's a banana split. That's going to be great. I'm going there.
And you can probably have plantains, really get some hot food in there too.
Right. Yeah, so on the Twitter sphere, hit us up. At OW86, at OW Nerdbomber, at OW Techtic, at Online Warriors 1. Let us know what you think of Super Nintendo World, that I believe is what it's called, or it might be called Nintendo World. Whatever the title of the park may be, let us know what your initial thoughts on it are, whether you will go to the one that winds up in your neck of the woods whenever that should happen. All right, so next up on the docket, this is a big one, The Mandalorian. Now, obligatory, if you have not yet watched the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian, you're going to want to go get a sandwich and a coffee or something. Come back in, 15 minutes. I don't know how long we're going to be talking about this, I guess. This is a big deal for a number of reasons. We have to talk about the final episode itself. We need to talk about the direction of the show because it appears to be changing drastically. And we need to talk about digitally manipulated Mark Hamill because not only was that a big reveal, I mean, it's interesting because once the X-Wing showed up, anyone who has even casually watched Star Wars should have known that it was Luke Skywalker.
And if you didn't, once you saw the green saber.
Yeah. There were multiple things that before his face was shown that should have told you it was Luke Skywalker. But you have the digital manipulation, and I think more importantly, you have the fact that Mark Hamill's involvement, this was kept a secret. And like, I mean, Disney takes this thing seriously. They take Star Wars secrets seriously, very specifically. I mean, there's the sequel trilogies never any leaks as far as I know. But that's alone to me is an accomplishment that they were able to get away with him being involved without anyone knowing, essentially. And he, I think, actually tweeted saying best kept secret in Hollywood or something. This was this was such a cool scene. I mean, the thing about Luke Skywalker that's so interesting is that we saw him in the old trilogy. Return of the Jedi is when he's supposedly at the height of his power, but it was still a movie that was made in the 80s. So you're not getting a whole lot in the way of brilliant saber choreography or special effects. Then we meet up with him again in, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, where he's over the hill and, he's a Jedi, of course, he's a powerful one, but he's lost a step. So you're not seeing much saber work from him. What this is giving us, and I'm guessing what it was designed to give us is, okay, this is the Luke Skywalker that could get it, back in the day, and he's getting it. He's taken down these dark troopers.
Were you disappointed how easily he disposed of the dark troopers, considering how hyped they were?
A little bit, because the dark troopers, Mando faced one dark trooper, right? And it almost destroyed him. And you're thinking, wow, these are the real deal.
Well, and then the other side of it, too, is the lore says that Mandalorians and Jedis always butted heads. So if he just runs through dark troopers and Mandalorians can't, well, there's obviously a clear winner in that battle.
Well, we can get to that. But I mean, when Luke Skywalker's like cutting through them all, they weren't really doing much. They were kind of standing there like, oh, crap. And then he cut through them. And, Jedi are really good. That's kind of a Star Wars thing. But I'll meet you on that. I kind of agree that they were a disappointing adversary. But kind of the coolness of it, too, right, is he's slicing through these guys like they're butter because he's a Jedi and Jedi are powerful. Like, guess what? That's, again, it's just a Star Wars thing.
But, and I'm sorry, Nerdbomber, I'm going to steal your thunder because you even mentioned this. At this point, they were in possession of the dark saber. There was a lot of cool things that could have happened with that and taking a final stance to protect Grogu.
I would have loved to see Mando and Skywalker, basically lightsaber and dark saber together, like back to back. You know how in like old westerns and stuff, you always have or even like military movies, like back to back encircled by the bad guys. I would have loved to see that.
Lord of the Rings did work with that a few times too. Mm-hmm. This is transitioning into the next thing, which is, that whole Darksaber thing. Mando defeats Moff Gideon in combat, takes the Darksaber. And then that whole thing happens of, oh, well, now Bo-Katan wants the Darksaber and now she has to, I guess murder you in combat to take it or whatever. I guess disarm you, kind of like.
I would have been like, well, technically he yielded to me, so technically he still owns it. You can go ahead and punch him.
Well, it's kind of this confusing logic, right? And you're not bound by anything. I didn't love that, is the point I'm trying to make. I didn't love that because it kind of threw a monkey wrench into the work for no reason and kind of a head fake because it seemed like, well, again, we'll get to that later, but it seems like they might be going away from these characters entirely, so I don't know why they did that.
I disagree with you there.
I think that actually opens up the door for Mando's next adventure, so to speak. Like, obviously, and
this
again,
is what I'm not clear about.
Spoilers for those of, I don't know why you're still listening if you haven't seen this episode, because this has been steeped in spoilers.
You screwed up.
The first two seasons were really focused on the relationship with Grogu and building that kind of relationship. Well, now Grogu's gone, and I really don't think that they're going to bring him back right away, because I think they're going to keep people guessing to see how long until Grogu shows back up, or maybe he'll have his own spinoff or something, or show up in Obi-Wan. And I honestly think that Mando getting possession of the Darksaber now sets him on another kind of like arc for his story, where obviously I don't think Bo-Katan is going to kill him to get the Darksaber. I just don't think she's going to do that. But I think that he will then become the person that goes back to Mandalore and basically tries to take the planet back for his people. And I think this is kind of the lead-in then. He loses Grogu, but he gains the Darksaber and a new purpose, and this will be the thing that keeps him marching on when we eventually do revisit these characters.
I am going to hit you with a hard truth that you're not going to like. We will never see Grogu again, at least in The Mandalorian.
Stop.
I would be shocked.
Literally half of the reason, and so I'll like The Mandalorian because it's just straight up good Star Wars content, but you can't lie. There are a large fraction of people who just watch the show for Baby Yoda.
I don't disagree. So it's something they're going to have to work out. But what I'm saying is he was just written off the show in a way that I would call definitive, almost ironclad. And I'll admit, I'm confused. And that's kind of why we got into this section of things is they teased the Book of Boba Fett at the end of this. And for those that haven't noticed, The Mandalorian, the episodes are referred to as chapters. Is this not the end of a book and the start of a new book? That was what was implied. And I don't know if it's clear.
I disagree. I think I absolutely agree with Nerdbomber. I think with Bo-Katan, it built up the plausibility of it's time to take back Mandalore, and it opens up really the book for them to fight the Dathomirian race. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Sounds right.
It opens them up to introduce that race, because everyone loved Darth Maul. He was renowned as a absolute badass. So absolutely, they're going to introduce that race of people, and they're going to fight them. And obviously, Mando is going to be leading the fight, because he said he who has the dark saber holds the throne. So how badass would that be to have Mando leading all of the Mandalorian into battle against a race of Darth Mauls? I mean, that sounds like a season to me.
And I will say, I don't think this is the last we've seen the character. So I know Disney has already confirmed that the Book of Boba Fett is going to be its own spin-off series.
Yeah, I just looked it up. See, I didn't know that because the title card was confusing.
Additionally, I believe Pedro Pascal has already signed on for season 3 of The Mandalorian, so I don't think they're going to get rid of him yet. I think, though, that we're going to see the Book of Boba Fett well before we finally get season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Well, yeah, that's December 2021. That's already, again, the title card said that. Okay, I mean, I'm not, I'm on board. I am concerned. What you're talking about sounds cool. I agree, though, with something that you've said before, which is a large portion of these people who are watching this show are watching it for Baby Yoda. You take Baby Yoda out, it's been a problem for this show's structure for a while now, right? Where the entire show centers around this ultra cute character. You know, everything that Mando does is based around this character.
I couldn't disagree with you more.
When you write that character out, yes, you give him the darksaber, you give him some kind of new purpose, but the emotional center of the show is gone. And I don't know how you can argue that with me.
I think people have, at this point, grown to love Mando. I think that's where the character development truly is, and people feel free to be mad at me. Grogu was really just a catalyst to bring humanity to that character and wasn't the end-all, be-all of the show.
I agree that he was the catalyst to bring humanity to the character, but I'm not sure that when you remove that character, that bond is critical to humanizing Mandalorian. And I'm not sure you can just say, okay, he's humanized, now this character's gone, he's going to remain that soft-hearted person that he showed himself to be.
Think about who he's become. He's not just become someone that cares for a young being. He's became someone who's seen that, there isn't only one way to live as a Mandalorian. He's gotten comfortable with removing his mask. He's seen the way that other Mandalorians in different subsects are, and he's now open to that. He's truly grown as a person in multitude of facets.
I can't argue with that, but I
know you can't.
I maintain my point, which is the show's going to have a problem without Baby Yoda. Be it because people will stop watching it without Baby Yoda, or because
they'll introduce something like BB-8 and be fine.
The thing that I'm kind of hanging my hat on is if you go back to season 1, Baby Yoda was a big reveal, and I don't remember if it was super early in the season. I want to say
episode 1.
He was revealed in episode 1?
At the end of episode 1, he was revealed.
Oh, okay. I take that back. Okay, because I was going to say, everybody loved it because it was just almost like a serialized Western where every episode was its own kind of self-contained adventure, and that's what people were applauding about the show back then, and then it became the Mando and Baby Yoda show, and it's now something completely different, in my opinion. It'll be interesting to see, if they go back to what it originally was viewed as. I don't know if people will be super receptive.
That's I will be, to be clear. I will be. I mean, the first episode of this show, for those that don't remember, it was like a Western, is what it was supposed to be a space Western. This is this gunslinger guy who has no allegiance. And then he went on and met someone who, made him more soft-hearted. And that works great for a movie, by the way. It's a great premise for a movie. But the trouble was, in as much as I do think that Baby Yoda and Mando's relationship was super important, and it was, guiding seasons 1 and 2, that sort of narrative is a dead end, right? It can never last forever. You can't just have Mando bombing around with Baby Yoda, figuring out what to do with him for 8 seasons or however long you want this show to run. So yes, it's a natural evolution, but I have a healthy amount of skepticism. I'm open, but I have a healthy amount of skepticism as to how successful the show is without that character and without that relationship.
They did potentially leave one door open with regards to Mando and Grogu, and that is the strong bond allowing Grogu to use the Force.
Well, sure, and Luke even says at the end, you clearly have a strong bond, and he, but by the way, the helmet takeoff, it broke me. It was like this very emotional thing that, I don't know, like Pedro Pascal's a pretty good actor, but it's just like seeing that character's face dealt a lot of weight to that moment, right? I mean, it was sad to begin with watching them, finally part, but to see them looking at each other and the baby Yoda, touching the Mando's actual face, it was powerful. I don't know how else to put it, but that's what's being taken away from us. That's kind of the point I guess I'm trying to make. That's what's being taken away from us. Yes, it's going to leave a mark on the character, but not having even a chance at those moments is maybe going to hamstring the show. I hope it doesn't, but Book of Boba Fett, I think, is going to make a concerted effort to be darker, and it's not going to provide that character any chance for emotional redemption. It's going to be, okay, Fennec and Boba Fett are badasses who are going to kill a lot of people. Like that, they set the tone with this little 30-second reveal, right? He comes in, kills Bib Fortuna, and sits on Jabba the Hutt's chair and basically just says, "Don't screw with me." And that's going to be cool too. No complaints there. They're setting the stage in a really good way for that too. So the Mando finale, if you watched it, if you've listened this far, hopefully you watched it. I don't know. I can't really tell you to tweet us about this one because I don't want to spoil anybody. Wait a week. Wait 2 weeks. Tell us what you thought.
We will all miss our little friend Grogu.
Yeah, pour one out for Grogu. I mean, he's not dead, thankfully, but we're probably not going to see him again for a while, if at all. I maintain that. So right now we're going to take a break. Before we do, we have to shout out, of course, our Patreon producer, Mr. Ben Checkness. Ben, thanks again for all you do for the show. Thank you for supporting us at the night level, which is the highest of our 3 Patreon support levels. As a result of that support, Ben gets access to the monthly secret segment and vlog, of course. He also gets the occasional guest spot, which he did with us a couple weeks ago now, and he gets input into our weekly game segment, which I believe is hosted by Nerdbomber this week. I don't know what the topic is.
Your favorite thing ever, Eggnog.
Oh, God, really? Well, I'm going to lose this one, but we'll get to that later. Yeah, so Ben supports at the night level. He is knighted. If you aren't as cool as Ben, understandable. You can become a squire and get access to the monthly secret segment or vlog, or monthly secret segment and vlog, or become a page and get access to the monthly secret segment. So the details on that are over at patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. Head over there, check us out. We would super appreciate any support. And thanks again to Ben, and we will now take a short break to shout out one of our sponsors, and we'll be right back to talk about Cyberpunk 2077.
Today's episode is brought to you by Fanatics. Fanatics is the world's largest collection of official fan gear from all of the leagues, teams, and players you love. If you enjoy our show and are looking to buy a new jersey, sweatshirt, or hat, you can support us by going to podgo.co/fanatics and getting 25% off your next order. That's podgo.co/fanatics. Fanatics, officially licensed everything.
All right, we're back to talk about Cyberpunk 2077. Now, there's, of course, a lot to unpack here. Our jumping off point is going to be the latest news, I think the latest news, which is that Sony pulled it from their storefront, which pretty unprecedented stuff. I'm actually not sure I can't think of the last time this has happened, let alone for a AAA title like Cyberpunk. This super long awaited, for years and years, people have been hyped about this, waiting for it. And the bugginess is, I guess, just too much to overcome. Now, I've seen footage, and I've on like r/Game Physics and in other places. I will say the footage has ranged from, I think it looks good, to I think it looks like it's not even done. So I don't, and I've heard there's a lot of variance between PS5 versions and PS4 versions. I've heard the PC version is completely fine. Like, I don't know what to think. It doesn't seem like the game is standing on solid ground. That much I can say pretty definitively, but this is a huge move. So I'm going to swing it over to Techtic first, because I think you mentioned last week you have this game waiting in the wings. And, for what it's worth, a lot of retailers and, CD Projekt Red are offering refunds. Now, I don't think you would go get a refund on a gift, but like, if you had bought this yourself, would you be in refund territory, or how much does this scare you, I guess, is my basic question.
Doesn't scare me at all. So if you guys recall, I played Watch Dogs and it was very, freezing issues, glitchy issues. And I fully embraced it. I wrote it out until all the updates got involved, and I still enjoyed the game. I did not let it take away from what the game was and the enjoyment that it bestowed upon me. Now, this game doesn't seem to have many freezing issues. It has more like glitchy, funky issues that, quote, make the game unplayable, but I disagree with. My favorite absolute one by far is the car glitch where your pants go off, and it's fantastic.
That's just fun. That's just good, clean fun right there.
There are glitches. There was the Spider-Man glitch where you turn into a brick, spider brick. I'm for those kind of glitches, and I don't understand people's frustration with that because ultimately, yeah, it's weird, but you're never going to forget that experience, and it kind of makes it fun. I always look forward to when they get these glitches patched, some DLC where, hey, you can have this skin and you're pantsless now. Enjoy yourself. And
Nerdbomber, if you want to offer, I have a feeling you're going to offer a dissenting opinion to this. If you're not, I'm going to, because
I am definitely going to offer a dissenting opinion here.
Okay, so I'll let you do it. Yeah,
I think the problem with this entire thing, and I hate that we have come to a point in gaming where it's okay for companies to sell you a game with the caveat that the product you just bought is crap until they update it. I remember back in the days before we had live services and connected play where you just popped a disc in your console and it worked. That was it. And if it didn't work, you didn't give the developer a chance to push an update. You just thought, hey, this was a broken game, and you gave it a bad review. And I understand that in today's day and age, there's so much work that goes into making these games.
And they're churned out at much, much faster rates.
Right, I get that.
I'm not blaming the developers. Yeah, I don't think that's what Nerdbomber's doing either. The key is immersion for me, right?
Well, for me,
go on.
My personal opinion on this is that the biggest no-no, and I think the reason why Sony's delisting it and all of the stores are offering refunds and even CD Projekt Red is offering refunds themselves, is that the game and everything that I've seen runs great on PC. But on the last-gen consoles, which now they're called last-gen consoles, on your PlayStation 4s and Xbox Ones, the game looks and plays like a turd. And the biggest problem with that is that they never once showed any gameplay clips of the game running on those consoles. They never warned you, and they never gave consumers a chance to see what they're buying into. Like for me, having kind of crappy graphics, I know if I'm playing it on the PS4 or Xbox One, I know I'm not going to get next gen graphics. It can't compare to a PC running the highest end graphics card. That's just not what you're expecting. But the fact that they showed all of these trailers and the game itself, especially when they talked about the console release, was this game was intended to be released on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One generation. They've only recently pivoted to saying, hey, we're going to offer the next gen upgrade, but it was intended for that generation of consoles. And to never once show footage of the game running on those consoles and then to have the game plagued by bugs, I understand why people are getting refunds, why Sony's delisting it, because just from a consumer perspective, let me make that informed decision. Let me see the graphics and decide for myself that I don't care. Because really, if they had shown it, like, yeah, some of the graphics look laughably bad and look really, really old and outdated. But I bet you anything people would have bought it anyway. And if they knew it going in, I don't think this problem would be as big.
Right. And let's step away from the graphics for a second, too. I mean, I mentioned immersion being a critical element. And, like, yes, bugs pull you out of that, which is why I was kind of pushing back on Techtic. You know, and don't get me wrong, bugs are fun. Bugs are really fun. You know, I laugh. I go on r/Game Physics and laugh all the time. And, you know, Cyberpunk's been no exception. But let's talk about the story, too, because I've heard and seen people just railing on this story, basically saying you have a choice of essentially a class choice at the beginning. Do you want to be X, Y, or Z? And hardcore gamers have already gone back and tried all three, and it basically said there's no branching paths. Like it's illusory, basically, is what they're saying, is that you pick one, but it really doesn't have that much bearing. And granted, that's maybe not a story element as much as a gameplay element, but it just feels like sleight of hand. And again, given how hyped this game has been, I hear that and I think, I wasn't even sure anyways. You're probably not going to get my money, at least until a lot of this stuff is fixed. And granted, that sort of thing isn't going to be fixed in so much as the graphics and the bugs are, but not a good look right now for CD Projekt Red. And I should say, too, I mentioned before, there are people who are playing this game right now, people listening probably, who have played this game or are playing it and love it and have no problem with it. And that is great for those people, you know.
Yeah, it's not saying that this is a bad game per se. Like, it could still be really fun. And I know, Techtic, you're going to say that you're going to love it and play it anyway. But I think it's the marketing
disingenuity
and the disingenuity, like you're saying, that's what's really getting people. The goodwill that CD Projekt Red built up with The Witcher, I think, has been completely torn away now.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would go that far, but they're digging themselves a hole, and they're going to need to do some PR work to get out of it, as well as some, you know, development work, you know, releasing patches, doing all the things you need to do. But it's going to be interesting to see, you know, as we roll on through the next few days and few weeks, you know, what steps they take there. But
it feels like this should have been delayed again, honestly.
But the thing is, they were, you know, devil's advocate, their backs were against the wall. People were already mad they delayed it once, and it's a tough thing, right? We've talked about this before. It's a tough balance between, do you want to release the best possible game, or do you want to get the game out when people have been craving it for years?
That's why I'm still like on their side, because I know the pressure that they were against, and I hear that, and they probably said, you know what, we're going to make a decision, we're going to release it, and we're going to deal with the punches as they come. And honestly, to give people fan service during a pandemic, I applaud them. And maybe they should have been more transparent and said, listen, we're going to give you the game, but just know it's going to be some janky bits.
Right. There's a lot. Transparency is a good word for, you know, what they probably could have brought a little bit more of. But we'll see what they do. Techtic, I'm really interested when you break this thing out. Presumably it'll be the next episode. I'm going to want to hear
all of my glitches that I experience will have the tweet #JankyBits.
You heard it here first, folks. #JankyBits. Maybe don't look that up. It sounds like it could be just watch out for Techtic hashtagging JankyBits. We're going to head into What Are You Up To Wednesday. I'm very excited. I'm going to lead this week because I'm very excited about a couple of things. One is I got a new phone, guys. And this is, for those that don't know, which should be all the listeners, I was previously rocking an iPhone 6. It's been a while for me in phones, so I shelled out for the iPhone 12 mini. Love the size. Love the battery life. That's the thing. It is, you're going to laugh at me, probably. It's life-changing. I mean, so currently it's 10:33 at night as we record this. I unplugged my phone this morning before 8 a.m. My battery is currently at 73%. Right now my old phone would be single digits, I can guarantee you, on that, in that same, I guess, daily cycle. So that's going to be a game changer for me. I'm really excited about the camera. You're all listening thinking, okay, doofus, like, good, you're a part of this generation finally. It's a big deal for me. It's legitimately a life changer. So looking forward to getting more use out of that until I inevitably, you know, drop in a puddle or something. The other thing, well, that's right, it is waterproof. Yeah, I'm still thinking, I'm still in the iPhone 6 headspace. I need to get out of it. The other thing I want to shout out is my amazing girlfriend got me Star Wars Squadrons for Christmas, and we did our Christmas gifts early because we had other things going on that I won't get into, but I was able to try Squadrons for a while. I think I only completed the prologue of the story missions, but the prologue is like between half an hour and an hour, I think, of play. Like, it's a pretty long prologue, which gives me a lot of hope about the story, and B, I did this all in VR, and it's really cool. Like, it's what it's cracked up to be so far. I mean, I have a limited sample size, but I'm going to be continuing to play that, and I'll be continuing to report on it. It'll probably take me a while. I have other things in the hopper too. I also have 3D All-Stars I'm going to be starting, so it's going to be a good couple weeks of gaming. So be on the lookout for more updates from me on that front. I haven't given many game updates in a while, so I'm due. Get hyped, I guess.
Do you feel like you're sitting in the cockpit?
It's yes. You can look around and do all that, and you know, there's actually instruments that you use, and like you can. It's more involved than I thought. Like you know when you're watching a Star Wars movie and they're like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like shift power to forward deflector shields. You do that, guys. Like you actually have a certain power allotment, and you can shift power to the laser cannons, or shift power to the shields, or shift power to the engines. So that's kind of one dial you're always turning, and it's super cool. And I haven't even gotten into like the multiplayer or the customizations and things like that I'm sure are going to provide a lot more depth for the game too. So really excited about that.
Warp speed.
Well, that's Star Trek, I believe, but it's a good try. I'll be updating more on that, but for now, I've kind of just dipped my toes into it.
Jump into hyperspace? Is that the
Yeah, hyperspace. Since you seem to be confused about Star Wars, Techtic, I'll let you go next.
Sorry, I mixed them up. So my biggest thing is actually twofold. The first thing is I've been playing around with night vision technology, which I find absolutely interesting and fun. It's for a future tinkering with Techtic. I'm just trying to get my feet wet right now, and by God, it is cool. Infrared flashlights are the coolest thing. If you shine an infrared flashlight at somebody, they're going to be like, nothing's on, what are you doing? But then if you look at it with an infrared camera, they're going to be like, holy kielbasa, look at that.
Holy kielbasa.
It is night vision, and it is just it's phenomenal. I'm really, really excited for the potential that has for the future. And then the other thing is Nerdbomber and I started watching a new show called The Queen's Gambit, and gosh, I have never wanted to play chess more, and studies have shown that this show has actually vastly increased purchases of chess sets due to what is now known as the Netflix effect.
We should play sometime, you and I. Do you know how to play, or are you like literally a newbie?
I know how to play.
Yeah.
I'm not very good.
So we tried to find a chess set, and they're very difficult to find. They were not joking. They're really expensive, and you can't just get like a cheapo. So we ended up getting this really, oh my God, it's a janky $299 Xbox app. And it's like when you load the game up, there's all of these pictures of scantily clad girls that have nothing to do with chess.
Yeah.
And then it's just like a 2D, really simple chessboard. But we played, and I beat Techtic. So.
I was also on the phone with my brother at the same time,
he's hedging.
Excuses.
And honestly, a 2D chessboard it just doesn't have the same.
Oh, come on.
I'm serious.
Hey, in Queen's Gambit, she can do it without a chessboard, nothing in front of her. She just plays games in her head.
Guess what? I'm
Sherlock
not a chess
Holmes does
master.
that too.
So
yeah, Sherlock Holmes does that in the second movie. It's really cool. Just watched that scene yesterday. This is on Hayes and I's watch list, so
you got to watch it.
Hear.
It's really, really good.
I'm like, I love the idea of chess, and I also wish I was really good at chess. I'm not very good at chess. I like playing it, but no one ever plays with me. So technically,
I used to be pretty good at it, but I have to get back on the horse, I guess.
This show does a really good job of, like, you don't really need to understand chess to enjoy what's going on. Even when there's scenes where they're just playing like super rapid games of chess, you don't track the pieces at all. Like, I think part of it's the acting, part of it's the writing, everything. Like, you're just so intent on these characters and how they're reacting. And I think just, like I said, the acting, like the facial expressions convey so much. It's such a great show. I can't gush about it enough. It's so good.
Have you gotten to Dudley Dursley yet?
Oh, yeah. I think he's like pretty early on.
Like
I think
right
the
away.
second or third episode.
That's going to be something. I haven't seen that guy since like the Harry Potter movies. So yeah, we're definitely going to watch. It's good to hear that it's good. Nerdbomber, anything else to add over there?
So I have finally sunk in a decent amount of time into Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I think I have about 20 hours in the game, and I said last week that I barely scratched the surface, and I still feel like I barely scratched the surface. The game is actually really incredible. This is my first Assassin's Creed experience. There was only been like one little itty bitty of the game so far that jumped to the modern day story, and I had no idea what was going on, but then I quickly ran through that and just jumped back into my Viking life, and you didn't need to know anything about the rest of the franchise, which was great. I mean, the graphics are incredible. I'm playing this on the PlayStation 5. There's very minimal loading screens. The combat took a little bit for me to get used to because it's slow. I'm not used to playing games with combat like Assassin's Creed where this isn't just like run around and hide in the shadows and assassinate people. Like there's raids and stuff where you're literally axe and shield and going at people. So the combat took a little bit for me to get used to, but I've gotten there. I think I'm not great, but I'm passable. But honestly, the thing that I'm having the most fun doing is just exploring the world. And the world is so vast and so big. And there's like treasure spots on the map, all over the map. There's mysteries, which are basically side missions. There's artifacts that you can find, weapons, even like skills are hidden throughout the map. And everything, there's just so much detail put into every single location, and it's incredible. The only downside, and this is my problem with open world games, and this is the first like super big open world game I've played in a while. There's so much to do that it's a little overwhelming because I have my main story mission, but then that kind of branches. And then I have to build my settlement up. And then I also have to find, like, I guess this is part of the Assassin's Creed lore, but the bad guys, whatever they're called in Assassin's Creed. I haven't really gone into this
The
section.
Templars, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you have to figure out where those people are located all throughout England and go find them and take them down. And there's just a lot of stuff to choose from at any one time. And they actually this weekend added in a Yule festival. So there's like even more seasonal activities, and it's a little overwhelming. And I feel
That's
like
daunting, yeah.
yeah, I've got 20 hours in the game, and I'm like, this is easily 100 hours, and I don't know if I can do it all. And I'm one of those people where I see a treasure spot on the map, and like, I have to go there. I'm just compelled. I have to clear the map. That's me. I need to do it. So this is either going to be lengthy or unfinished. I have yet to decide. But I'm not tired of the game yet. I'm daunted, but I'm not tired of it. And I easily lose several hours just playing the game because there's no loading screens, and you just keep going and you don't realize time is passing.
It just flows. Well, that aspect at least sounds enjoyable. So keep us updated on that.
Will do.
And keep us gaming. Give us a quiz here to finish us out. I think
All right.
you're the master today.
So to kind of wrap up, I don't know if this is wrapping up the year because I think there's one more episode in 2020, but to wrap up the Christmassy spirit around these parts, we have an eggnog themed trivia for you guys. And this is going to be Price is Right style. This is actually more difficult than I thought because there's apparently not a lot of numerical statistics about eggnog, but
Who would have thought?
I'm going to do my darndest here. So I've got 5 questions. And we'll let Techtic answer first for the first one, and then you guys can go back and forth. So, how many pounds of eggnog does the United States drink in average every year?
Pounds.
Pounds.
I'm going to say 100 million pounds.
That's way too much. Okay, let me hedge first. I do not like eggnog. We talked about this in the secret segment. I do not like eggnog. Eggnog's not good. I don't drink eggnog. I have no knowledge of eggnog, but 100 million pounds of eggnog would average out to a third of the country drinking a pound of eggnog a year, which I feel like is a lot. I'm going to go low because I think you busted, and I'm just going to say 1 million.
All right, so Techtic actually gets this. The average amount of eggnog drank every year is 135 million pounds. So
you're all disgusting.
Well, you got to realize there are people who guzzle a lot of eggnog.
Yeah, we've
People
already,
love this
we've already
stuff.
gotten 3 containers of it so far.
Stop. Yeah, I'm gagging over here. Okay. Well, let's keep it going.
So all of that eggnog turns into a lot of belts loosening because, eggnog is not without calories. How many calories are in 1 cup of eggnog?
A lot. Oh my God.
And I'm talking like numerical cup, not like a glass.
Yeah. 225.
That's a really good answer. I was going to guess 200, so I'm going to just play it safe and say 6.
All right. So, Illeagle, you are so close.
Oh man, is it like 200? It's like 210 or something.
210. So,
Come
Techtic
on.
gets another point here, but you were so close there.
I hate Christmas.
But it is a very high calorie drink.
I recently counted them on the
It's thick with 2
container.
C's.
Yeah, it's a very thick drink. So every December, there is National Eggnog Day that occurs every December. Which date in December is National Eggnog Day?
Oh, well, this is clear. It's in line with the Festivus. Or not the Festivus, with the solstice. It's the 21st of December.
Okay, what are the bust rules on this? If my number, it's just like regular bust rules. If I go
Yep.
to the day that's too high. Okay, well, I'm just going to play the ponies here, meaning I'm going to play the gaps and just pick the high probability. I'm just going to say December 1st and just hope that it's somewhere in those 3 weeks.
All right, so Techtic actually takes this one home now and wins the game, even though there are 2 questions left. But
Christmas is bad.
National Eggnog Day is December 24th. So Christmas Eve, everyone drinks that eggnog. So
All right, so I'm just trying to avoid a whitewash here.
pretty much, yeah.
Okay, let's do this.
Eggnog wash.
So, according to the Taste of Home homemade eggnog recipe, how many eggs are required to make 1 batch, which is about 3 quarts of eggnog?
How many
Tell you
cups
what.
are in a quart?
I have no idea. You're asking the wrong person. Do I
This
look
is-
like an echo to you?
Mrs. Illeagle 86, meaning my mom, used to love Taste of Home. Used to have that magazine in the house all the time, but now magazines, people don't get those anymore.
Do you want to call a friend?
No,
To make it fair, there's 4 cups in a quart.
4 cups in a quart.
So
It's
12 cups.
It's fewer eggs than you would think. 12 cups. I think you said 4 cups in a quart, and you said how many eggs go into a quart?
No, how many eggs are required to make one batch, which is equal to 3 quarts?
Oh, okay.
12
Okay,
cups.
so I have to back this out. Okay, then I'm gonna say 2 eggs. It's way less than you think.
I think it's double that. I'm going to go 4 eggs.
All right, so there's actually an egg per cup. There are 12 large eggs
Ew.
in a batch of eggnog.
How do you all drink this crap? That's
So-
disgusting.
Techtic,
Basically, Sylvester Stallone is like, yeah, eggnog.
it's just basically a protein drink.
So
You know?
Techtic's going for the clean sweep here.
He is. He's got 4 points and you have none.
No pressure.
And this last question is
It's
actually,
worth 5 points.
I mean, we could, but
No,
then I'd have no
it's-
tiebreaker and that would be bad. But this is my favorite question, honestly. And this is a little bit of a history fact too. So just stay with me. The question's at the end. We'll get there. So the Eggnog Riot actually took place at the United States Military Academy at West Point because whiskey was smuggled into the academy 2 days before Christmas. It was used to make eggnog that induced an out-of-control party that turned into a giant riot, which then basically resulted in many cadets receiving court-martials and ruined Christmas morning at West Point.
A
And
great movie.
Jefferson Davis, historical figures, Jefferson Davis, who was the president of the Confederate States, was one of the people who participated in this riot. What year did that eggnog riot at West Point occur?
Do I go first? Or does Techtic go first?
I believe you go first.
No, Techtic
Techtic goes first.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be honest. There was a lot of words in that question, and you lost me. So I'm going to
get
go
it right.
ahead and go 1845.
It's a really good guess. I mean, you can back this out, right? So Jefferson Davis was at West Point at the time, and he became the president of the Confederate States in probably 1860 something. Do you think he became president of a group of Confederate states at age 35? Because I don't.
I think
It's
he
earlier.
was an old man.
It's earlier. So I'm gonna say 1810, just to go early enough where I don't bust. Because I'm gonna go early. So 1810.
Very smart choice. You avoided the whitewash. You got the point. It occurred on Christmas Eve in 1826.
Sweet.
The Eggnog Riot.
I wasn't that far
I'll
off.
take the pity point. Techtic knows more about eggnog, which it doesn't surprise me at all. I want to make it clear, in case I didn't before, eggnog's gross. So I'm not sorry about losing this one. Techtic will host next week, topic TBD, and I think we're all going to be here next week. So we're going to close out 2020 in style, and we're looking forward to having all of you with us. I want to say again, I hope everyone who's listening has a happy holiday, whatever the holiday may be. A happy New Year, because, New Year's won't have happened yet. So I'll wish you a happy New Year next week. Happy holidays. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Don't drink eggnog. I mean, it's not worth it. It's not worth your health. I mean, 210 calories per cup. It's not worth it. If you liked what you listened to, you can head over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a review there. You can hit us up on Twitter. I already mentioned our handles, and we're looking forward to chatting with you and speaking to you next week. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.